Welcome to the Bodaciously Awesome Family Show. Bodaciously Awesome Family Show. The only show dedicated to helping parents maximize their kids' experiences and for kids to reap the fun. Here are your hosts, the Bodacious family, Adam, Anthony, and Zachary.
Yeah. Welcome. There we go. Welcome back to Bodaciously Awesome Family
Show.
I am your host, Adam.
I'm Antonio.
And we have a special guest.
Aunt Jeremy.
Or we can just call her Jeremy. She's that you aren't everyone's aunt. I know you want to be because you're that loving, but for the podcast land, they can just call you
Anthony's Aunt Jeremy.
Okay, even better. That's even longer. It's harder to find on Twitter. Great, got it. All right, so welcome back to the Bodaciously Awesome Family
Show. I got it right twice. That's pretty impressive.
I know, it's like a whole new day where you've been engaged now already from the start. Bam!
Personal record.
It's the power of Aunt Jeremy.
Yep.
That's just how it works.
See, it is funny because Aunt Jeremy's never been involved in the podcast, so she doesn't realize that I just kind of like throw the mic in someone's face, and when it does that, she has to talk. And so it's like random. She's expecting it now. I'm not going to do it.
This is the way.
This is the way. All right,
Perfect.
So, Aunt Jeremy, what are we talking about today? Give us the topic.
We have an extra special episode today, you guys. We are talking about The Mandalorian, the greatest thing to happen in 2020. If you've been watching, it's just wrapped up season 2, so we are here to break it down and maybe give a little thoughts about season 3.
That is correct. So we have not talked about The Mandalorian yet, this year.
Not yet. But we're about to.
Well, we may have mentioned it briefly a couple weeks ago on our All Things Disney Plus, where they were talking about all like the 18,000 shows they announced.
Yeah, we talked about how Zachary didn't watch any of it,
which is still weird.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
And Jeremy here is like, I mean, the only person I think who's obsessed about it more than anyone else I know, really.
I mean, she woke up at 3 a.m. to watch the last episode, which is
Yeah. So all right. So why don't we start there? So we'll keep like spoilery things till the end here. We'll spoil everything.
Yeah,
so,
everything.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, we assume you've seen it by now. But yeah, so I oddly that the morning of the final episode, we were actually going out of town the next day really early. So I woke up super early that Friday morning because I want to be able to like wake up early to go on this driving trip the next day. But I specifically didn't watch it because I knew, like, you know, this guy here next to me would want to watch it or whatever. I didn't want to spoil it for them. So I didn't. And then I happened to check the Facebook. It's literally 5 a.m. and you're already commenting on how you've already watched it. You got up at 3 a.m. And this is the way.
This is the way. And I was not going to let the world spoil it on the internet before I was going to see it. So I got up at 3 a.m. Why not?
Yeah, sure. Why not? All right, So Sherman, let's break it down here. So, personally, I loved the first season, but it felt a bit too disjointed at times. The second, I think, solved everything. The second season was absolutely amazing. Like, honestly, this was Star Wars through and through. Possibly one of the greatest television seasons. Give us a breakdown. What was your favorite part of season 2?
Well, there were so many favorite parts of season 2. I mean, obviously, the last 10 minutes were some of the best 10 minutes in the entire Star Wars universe. But that's really a separate discussion. I'm going to say that episode 13, The Jedi, was my personal favorite episode beginning to end of the season. Not because I've ever actually watched anything with Ahsoka Tano before, because I've not watched the Clone Wars, but because that episode to me was the emotional heart of the series. And that's what makes this series so great, is it's action, it's exciting, but there's also an emotional heart to it.
Yeah, and that's the one where you learn like Crouton's name, right?
I think you mean Grogu.
I think it was Crouton.
Grogu.
I heard Crouton.
I heard Crouton.
Just don't call him Baby Yoda.
No, it's not Baby Yoda anymore. It's Crouton.
It's Grogu.
Okay, so Anthony, you also did watch every episode.
I did watch every single episode,
and you were enthralled and enchanted.
Yeah, it was really good.
And what was your favorite moment of season 2?
Am I giving like an episode or a moment?
Whichever you want. It could be when you first heard the word Crouton.
Yeah, that was one of them. And also, just like the whole episode with the spy, I don't remember, I think it was the second episode of this season. So that, chapter 10, I'm being told from...
You've gotten the cue card from that?
Yeah, I've gotten the cue card on the sideline there.
Sharmy's over here flashing numbers.
Yeah, chapter 10, I thought was absolutely fantastic. Like, visually, it was I thought it was the best, and like it was just really good because it was like a pressure cooker almost. It was like mini Alien, but Star Wars.
It was like the Instapot of Star Wars.
Sure.
It's a pressure cooker.
Yeah, I got it.
As a cooking reference.
And let's just point out that Peyton Reed directed Chapter 10 and also directed Chapter 16, the season finale.
And what else? Give me one thing Peyton Reed's directed.
Down with Love with Ewan McGregor.
You know what? Of all the things Peyton Reed's directed, that is not what I thought anyone would come up with.
I don't even know who he is.
I'm pretty sure he directed Ant-Man.
Oh, Ant-Man
And Down with Love, I'm telling you.
Actually, I'm not positive on that. I'm just pulling that out of my memory right now, so I could be wrong.
We'll have to look at this up later. Peyton Reed?
Yeah, we do no research first.
Oh, yeah, no, that's...
No, I have seen Down with Love, I promise you.
Oh, I've seen Ant-Man.
I will bet you money.
Oh, wait. I think I've seen Down with Love, actually.
With Renee Zellweger.
Yeah, I have seen that. It's awful.
They're singing. It is bad. They're singing.
It's horrible.
Ant-Man's really good, though.
Yeah, Ant-Man's great.
Yeah,
so,
I love Ant-Man.
All right, so actually, that brings up a really interesting point. One of the things in certain shows I really like to look for, in more of like the event series like this is the directors behind it, right? So, and especially this season, what I take this back, and you'll appreciate this, back from our youth, right? From Amazing Stories, right? So Spielberg created Amazing Stories, but every episode was also directed by different people. So Spielberg directed some, but even then people who became kind of mainstream directors, even people like I believe Clint Eastwood directed some, and Danny DeVito, Robert Zemeckis. This I kind of feel is almost like a cultural equivalent, because not only do you have Jon Favreau obviously directing a few, but some people like Peyton, or Bryce Dallas Howard directed one this season, I believe. And Dave Fillion, I think, directed one. Robert Rodriguez.
Yep.
So it really becomes this different cultural awareness of directing styles. Mm-hmm. And I think all of their styles are actually then pretty much depicted from the series. Like every episode feels different because it has a different director attached to it. What do you think about that?
I think that's true, but at the same time, everyone is so loyal to the idea of Star Wars. Everyone's looking for that spirit of Star Wars, so there ends up being a cohesiveness, even with so many different voices.
But so here's the thing, though, is that when you look at, say, you transpose this with, say, the sequel trilogy, where you have JJ, and I'll keep Rian Johnson out of this for this point.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but JJ is trying to embody the spirit of Star Wars. And I think he misses it completely, whereas I will assume, Favreau and Fillion, Filoni, not Fillion, sorry, Favreau and Filoni, their style, or what they're trying to accomplish, they give each of these directors some room for their own voice. Yes, they obviously are still constraining not only to the Star Wars feeling, but also the feeling of the space western, specifically with Mandalorian. But it allows them all to have a little bit of comfort. I mean, because like the Carl Weathers directed one feels so much different, let's say, than the Robert Rodriguez one.
That's true. However, again, I go back to this point that all of them have this nice balance between these quiet, emotional moments and action. Even the one that Anthony mentioned has so much action, but there's still an emotion to it. We have the frog lady. We become really engaged in her story, and that's this
sadistic crouton, like becoming a literal world eater and like trying to absolutely, basically destroy a species.
I'm not going to sit here and defend Grogu. He needs no defense from me.
Defend that. Defend.
He's a child. He's just a child.
He's 50.
How many people did he murder? How many? I mean,
I'm not a child, nor am I 50, and I have actually.
I think you guys are getting away from the point of my discussion here.
I think we are talking about exactly what we should.
So go back onto this horror episode where he starts where basically only the people that don't say I'll be right back survive. Go on.
I believe I was talking about what makes The Mandalorian different from the sequel trilogy. I want to make that point.
That's a good point. You should make that point.
I'm going to make that crucial point because The Mandalorian gets absolutely right that there is this emotional heart of the series. People are absolutely engaged with Mando. I'm going to call him Din Djarin, by the way, and Grogu, and all of those characters, and they make just fantastic world building. I'm such a fan.
No, and I
agree. Just point out that she said the word Din
Djarin.
It's not a word; it's a name.
It's his name.
Wait,
his name.
Oh, I remember that now.
Oh,
she's pulling out the big brain on us.
Okay, so
am I related to you? I don't know.
You are. I don't. I apologize for him. I'm sorry.
I'll go sit in the corner.
I mean, if I was saying,
there's going to be a quiz later.
I mean, I can say crouton. I'm joking. I know it's Grogu, but yeah, you should know Din Djarin, man.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Jeez, sorry, but no, I actually completely agree, and it's like even when Force Awakens came out, much less than with the Rise of Skywalker, how badly the swing and the miss was on the emotional center of Star Wars. For all of the problems with the prequel trilogy, which are legion, it at least tries to have a feeling of Star Wars. That
The Last Jedi had a feeling of Star Wars.
And that's why I'm keeping Rian Johnson out of this. I think it's actually
Yay, Rian
accurate.
Johnson!
Yeah.
I like Last Jedi. Last Jedi is the best one of the three.
Oh,
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah, I mean, and it has its flaws. There's a very slow motion space battle that takes forever. But it's the only
But it's still Star Wars.
Yeah, and I can't remember if this is positive, if this is correct or not, or if I saw this like in a meme, but like JJ, in my memory, this is correct, saying something like trying to please both the old fans and the nostalgia with giving something new, whereas they don't give anything new. They just try to please old fans with nostalgia, and that's why I think it failed so badly, because there's no emotional center. The only emotional center is the old emotional center, and where Favreau and Filoni have been able to take that and actually bring that forward.
Well, we don't get to know the new characters in the sequel trilogy. They're just running around and not really, taking time for us to get to know them. Whereas by the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, we have gotten to know Din Djarin, and he's developed a great deal as a character since the first season. I went back and watched from the beginning before the season finale and was just amazed at how much that character has changed.
Yeah, a very good character arc for him.
Definitely. So I saw this, and it was a video review of the prequel trilogy, and the host was basically saying how you can, the lack of characters in the prequel trilogy was a big problem, and kind of what you're saying. So he asked people to give adjectives to describe the characters of Han, Luke, or Leia. So Jeremy, give me a characteristic of Han.
Brash,
great. Rogue, another great one. Okay, so now give me a characteristic of, say, Leia.
fearless.
And now of Mando.
The strut.
Okay, well, sure, okay, we'll give it. Okay, and Grogu, besides hungry.
Adorable.
And
okay.
very hungry all the time.
Okay, give me a characteristic of Finn.
He was a stormtrooper once.
That's exactly what I thought. Stormtrooper.
I honestly thought you might say which one was Finn. I thought that might have been the thing. So yeah.
Bald. He was bald, I think.
No, he
wasn't. He had hair.
Did he?
He did.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
I'm pretty sure he did.
I'm pretty sure everyone in that series had hair. I don't think there's any hairless people. Except for Chewbacca, though. I thought he may have been thinning a little bit.
That's what I noticed.
Sorry, so we got off topic. But it goes to prove your point, though, is that yes, even in The Mandalorian, they really do stuff it with characters and character attributes. Even if you said things like strut, which is
that was a joke.
Sure, I know. But whereas if you look at, say, what's the characteristic of like even Obi-Wan in the prequel trilogy, you're like, right.
A beep beep bapu.
Right. Or Qui-Gon. The characteristic is he's quiet, right? Like.
Well, absolutely, and that's why it was so important for these different directors to find those emotional centers of those characters and flesh them out. And that's why the show works. I think that's why it has such a large and diverse audience of fans. People who love Grogu, people who love Din Djarin. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next season, of course, but at the same time, the show was able to hit all those different audiences and lots of different ages.
I have one thing about the new season, and yes, it's Zachary. I just joined through the door. Grogu's the worst name. I think it should be named like that thing or something.
No, not that thing.
Grogu is not a good name.
Personally, I think we've struck gold with Crouton.
All right. In all fairness, I actually don't like the name Grogu, but it's Groguing on me.
The important thing.
Sorry, I had to laugh at that out loud. That was so bad.
Not your bad pun, but I agree with that. It's growing on me.
It's growing on you.
But the point is, it's his name, and he loves his name, and the way he reacts to his name, he owns his name. And
I totally agree, actually.
And he gets his identity back as a result of all of Din Djarin's love and protection. It's so great.
And actually, in all seriousness, the one thing I love about his name is that it is not in any way a play on the name Yoda, right? So, like, in the prequel trilogy, there's a character name, there's a Yoda species character, Yaddle, right? And so...
I'm sorry, his name was Yaddle?
It's a female.
Yeah, her name was Yaddle.
Oh my god.
Yaddle?
Yaddle. 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 But I was very worried about that. Like I was like, man, if the characters be yogurt or something, I mean, really,
Yogurt is amazing. Don't diss yogurt like that.
Wait, no, yogurt.
Where is this discussion going?
Spaceballs, baby.
Spaceballs, the movie.
I think Baby Yoda's new name should be Yogu.
Yogu. But yeah, but actually, that's my point. Like, if they did, actually, Yogu would be a good example. If they named Baby Yoda Yogu, right, which that'd been a cute name, Yogu, that would have been vomitous. And they didn't do that, and that I really did appreciate that, because I really think that was important to not go that way. So, all right, so Jeremy, here's the next question for you. You ready?
Sure.
Okay, so your favorite part was the episode with Ahsoka.
Well, that was my favorite episode beginning to end, but my favorite part was the last 10 minutes of the entire season.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned, okay, sorry, yes, that's right. As well it should be, because that was, it was, did you get any, we'll talk about that last 10 minutes. Did that last 10 minutes remind you of anything else in the Star Wars saga?
Of course. It reminded me of the last scene of Return of the Jedi when Anakin, spoiler alert, removes his helmet for Luke Skywalker to see his face.
Wow, not where I was going with that, but interesting.
You were thinking of Rogue One.
I was, yes. Yes, the last 10 minutes are very reminiscent of the end of Rogue One.
100% are.
Even like, when he like throws like the guards like up into the ceiling like Vader did in Rogue One. But yes, that emotional ending of Mando removing the helmet is very reminiscent of Luke taking off Vader's mask.
Absolutely. And obviously both comparisons were entirely conscious.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, without question, yes. Especially like that 10 minutes, that entire scene was definitely played out very similarly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Sorry,
Zachary. Anthony's now distracted by Zachary eating pretzels.
No, because he's sticking them in his mouth like all the way up and putting them in between, and it's really nasty.
And this is how our podcasts go.
There's a lot of seriousness.
Exactly.
There's a lot of seriousness, and then there's Zachary eating pretzels.
Okay, so, and Jeremy, where does it go from here? What do you want to see in season 3?
Well, I tell you, I was pretty surprised that Grogu left to follow the Jedi path when he did, because I thought that might happen in season 3. So, in a way, some things are up for grabs. But, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but the send-off that Grogu got means that I don't think he's going to be back right away in season 3. I think season 3 is going to be focusing on the path of Din Djarin himself, which has a lot of potential for great storylines. I'm excited to see where that character goes, and I hope viewers don't leave the show because Grogu is gone.
The thing is, like, they've written themselves, into a very interesting corner where, like, well, you can't really go back to his old character, like, of just a wild bounty hunter after all this character arc you've gone through, so where do you go?
Well, I think they set that up with a Darksaber.
Well, there are lots of options for him, and that's really the point, isn't it? He has to rebuild his own life and find his own path the way Grogu found his path. He has no Razor Crest. We saw that blow up. He has no more Grogu, he's broken the creed, and he's the accidental owner of the lightsaber, which, by the way, is a very peak Din Djarin thing to have happened to him. So where does he go from here? And it's going to be very exciting to see.
So one thing they recently announced with, at the end of this episode, or at the end of the last episode, there's the end. Yes, Zachary.
I want Boba Fett to become king of the world.
Well, Boba Fett does become king of it. Well, he does take over Jabba's crime syndicate. So we see at the end of the season, there is basically what comes out to really get weird. The Marvelization of the Star Wars. They give you the end credit teaser.
Oh, I love the end credit teaser.
Yeah. And they show you Boba Fett coming back to take over and killing Bib Fortuna and taking over Jabba's empire. And
I'm very excited for that show.
Well, then they announced that the Book of Boba comes out in December, which is what they initially said the next chapter of Mandalorian would be. And so now Favreau's come out to basically say the next chapter of Mandalorian is the Book of Boba Fett. And then season 3 of Mandalorian will take place after that. So I do think that you will see in the Boba Fett series, Boba Fett's rise of power in the crime syndicate. And I don't think that's going to be really a chapter, although maybe I'll be wrong. As much as it is that I do think that season 3 Mandalorian will explore more about his association with the Darksaber and the Mandalorian Wars and taking over Mandalore, or because he's now the rightful heir of Mandalore.
Well, Din Djarin really has to decide what kind of Mandalorian is he going to be. Is he going to be the bounty hunter Mandalorian, in which case he might join up with Boba Fett? We don't know. Or is he going to explore this idea of keeping the helmet off once in a while? and maybe hooking up with Bo-Katan and her group and taking over the
And Sasha
planet.
Banks.
And Sasha
And Sasha Banks. Yeah.
Your favorite
The
character.
boss. Yeah, absolutely.
She has like 3 lines in the 3 episodes she's in.
Doesn't matter, man. We have the boss in Star Wars. Oh my gosh, this is what a dream come true.
See, this is the Pedro Pascal fan base on this side of the closet, and over there on that side of the closet where we're sitting is
I have no problem with
Sasha
Pedro
Banks.
either. I'm just saying, Sasha Banks.
the Sasha Banks fan base and the Pedro Pascal fan base are both represented in this podcast.
On the still Sasha Banks, you guys should watch the Hell in the Cell match versus Bailey versus Sasha Banks, and it was really good because Sasha Banks said big statement with a chair around Bailey's neck to win. Spoilers.
Solid. And you are correct. Yeah, that's a great match. But so back to Mandalorian. Exactly. Oh, I love your randomness.
Hey, we were on the topic of Sasha Banks.
I agree. On my bad. Okay, so going back to the for season 3, I think that we get into that lore of Mandalore, the Mandalore lore, and then how that can play into it. But that also takes Grogu out of the equation for the most part of the series, while continuing Mando's arc, because he does not want to necessarily be a leader. He doesn't want to own be the ruler of Mandalore. Actually, Bo-Katan wants that.
He?
Right? Or does he? Or will he go that way? That's what I like about the show, is that it started as this very episodic space western, grew into the protection of the child, and then into the entire arc of season 2 of finding where the child belongs, but you still don't know where Mando belongs.
Well, that question of Mandalorian identity has been there since episode 1. In fact, very early, characters were saying, oh, I've heard of Mandalorians, but I've never met one. And then you had Quill saying, but you're a Mandalorian, you can tame this blurg. So that question of identity has been there since the first episode. And so now this is the chance for Din Djarin to get his story.
And I think that's what we'll see, because, I mean, as season 3 unfolds, I think that's what we'll kind of get to. So here's the question, Anthony. Are you ready for the question?
I was born ready for the question.
This is you only get one shot at this, kid.
Oh, no.
Was it okay to have Luke Skywalker come back? Is that the question?
No, of course it was okay to have Luke Skywalker come back.
Of course it was.
As long as he's not a character in the next season.
That's fair, and that's fair. The question is...
Can I have $100?
Ultimately, does this go 6 seasons in a movie?
I think it could. I think it definitely goes 6 seasons. I'm not sure if we get the full hashtag 6 seasons in the movie, but...
I think it's got to be hashtag 6 seasons.
By the way, we still need a Community movie, and Joe McHale keeps saying, oh yeah, we're going to do that, and you never do, Joe!
It's Joel.
That's what I said, Joel.
Okay. All right, so would you want to see, answer me, would you want to see a Mando movie? The double M. It's kind of like Wonder Woman, but backwards, so it's MM instead of WW.
I'll watch Din Djarin in anything.
So that's a yes, you want to see a Mando movie?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
What if we got a re-release of like not Rogue One. What if we had a re-release of Force Awakens with like Mando in the background, like on a jetpack or something, just like randomly on whatever a planet that is they find Rey on. Maybe by the end of the last season of Mandalorian, he finds that his new quest is protect Rey after her parents leave her randomly or whatever, and because they don't ever see it. And so he's always in the background, like on that desert planet, just like making sure she's that rapscallion Rey doesn't get into trouble, and he gives her like whatever the muffins that make it you can make in the pot.
All right then. Well, I think the challenge moving forward with this show, and I think it's going to be the challenge for all the Star Wars shows, is how do you keep it fresh and keep the people happy and keep the fans happy. I don't envy the creatives in trying to strike that balance, because I think it's probably really hard. And honestly, that was a bold move, sending Grogu off the train. It really was.
It is, and
that is not a money-making move.
Right.
Wow.
It's a very strong creative move. It was good for the story. It was absolutely right for the story.
I'm 100% agreeing. It's great for the story, but it's very un-Disney-like to send away this big character that's making all this money and you're like, and goodbye. You're gone. We don't need you anymore.
But I think you can still have Grogu playsets.
He'll show up in the Osaka show. I feel confident.
Oh, 100% he will.
Yeah, because here's my again. You kind of mentioned the other shows. So I do worry about dilution, especially within a timeline. So now you'll have the Ahsoka show, as well as Rangers of the Republic, as well as Mando, as well as now Boba Fett, all in the same timeline. Now, maybe Rangers goes off the beaten path. It probably will, hopefully. It doesn't have to necessarily be associated.
That's my guess.
Yeah, and maybe Boba Fett does too on some level, but Ahsoka won't be on some level. It's going to be very much, will be her story. I'm sure Filoni will have a high degree of autonomy on that. And I do agree they probably bring in Grogu. And because ultimately, you got to get to the point of Luke having an academy with more than just one student. But ultimately, one of those students has got to become Ben. Now, if you look back towards like the books, well, actually the books get rewritten by that point. But Ben has to be born nowish. So in 10 years-ish, you got to have a Jedi Academy that he's going to be betraying, just like slaughtering people at the Knights of Ren.
Well, if you look on Twitter, the fans are really worried about that for Grogu. So hopefully the creators will come up with a way to explain what happens to Grogu so that fans won't worry.
Maybe. I'm just spitballing this, but let's say that what really turned Ben evil is that Grogu tried to eat him, and
that could be it. I think I'm calling Disney right now. We've struck gold, my friend.
That may be it.
Well, we've already seen Grogu lift blue macarons, and that I cannot defend.
That's right. He's already a thief
and a killer.
Yeah,
a cold-blooded murderer.
So, all right. So as we wrap these things all up together, so I do worry a little bit about the dilution factor. Even if even if we can say in Favreau we trust, at some point you're going to be kind of creatively spent too. I mean, you only have so much going on. But I do have a lot more faith in in Filoni's handlings, and I guess by some extension now I'll give Kathleen Kennedy the credit as well for kind of building the team. I was a big fan of her coming into that role pre-Force Awakens. I don't know if that was her or somebody at Disney that then tried to Disneyfy Star Wars so much with those 3 movies. But now there's been that course reset, and I'm excited by that and see where it can go. The dilution scares me about how that is, but I do like the Marvelization now of trying to string things along and tie them together. And again, as long as you start using new filmmakers like Rodriguez, like Peyton, like Dallas Bryce Howard.
Get Johnson to do a trilogy.
Yeah, well, supposedly Rian Johnson is supposed to be doing a trilogy. And Patty Jenkins doing the next movie, well, until I watched Wonder Woman 2, was a very exciting idea.
Oh my goodness. So we've watched the first 2 hours, and it's 2 hours too long.
I love Pedro Pascal anyway.
Yeah, it all ties back to Pedro Pascal and Star Wars and Patty Jenkins. And it all
Bam,
makes
look
sense.
at that, full circle.
Man, whew, it's like I planned it.
The Wonder Woman movie doesn't have...
Spoilers! We're doing that. We'll have to do that. We'll have to do that episode later, but basically...
We're going to do an episode on that?
I mean, I don't see how we couldn't. People have got to know.
Nothing happens.
I want to sleep.
All right. So we're going to wrap this up here, Aunt Jeremy. So think about this question here for a second. I'm going to ask Anthony first. Anthony.
Yes.
On a scale of 0 to 5, so you've been an absolute waste of 8 hours of your life, 5 being benefits of perfection, using only whole and half numbers. How would you rate Season 2 of The Mandalorian?
Ooh.
4.5 to 5. I'm not sure which one, but it is one of those 2 numbers.
Okay. And Jeremy, on a scale of 0 to 5, so you've been an absolute waste of 8 hours of your life, 5 being benefits of perfection, using only half numbers. How would you rate the movie? Or should be the show?
Well,
Season 2.
Well, a 5, and can there be a bonus point for Mark Hamill?
No.
5.
Okay. But there can be bonus excitement for Mark Hamill.
There's plenty of bonus excitement for Mark Hamill.
For CGI Hamill?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's a jubilant 5.
It's a jubilant
5.
Ooh, it's a forceful 5.
It's a force.
It's a 5 with force.
Hey, stop saying words. I'm not in school.
All right. So, Anthony, is there anything else you would like to say about The Mandalorian?
No, but there is one more thing I would say one more time. That is actually random thought of the day. What is it?
Hole.
Okay, why not? Sure. It's like a hole, like a Sarlacc pit that Boba Fett fell into and should have died. No offense, that's actually my weakest part of this series because Boba Fett should not have lived. Boba Fett should have remained dead and digesting inside of the Sarlacc pit.
I agree, actually, yeah.
He should be slowly digesting right now. If someone threw down a rope ladder right now and pulled him out, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that's it. All right, everyone. Well, we're going to talk to y'all next week. We're going to see you next week. Hey, go watch The Mandalorian again. We'll talk to you next week. Bye! And may the Force be with you.